So here's the final part of the bodywork on these fenders. Now this is the right-hand fender, which is I've just replaced this whole section underneath it here. So I'm working on the underside of the fender. Just remove that bottom flange, put a new piece in. Now I found a few pinholes in this right-hand fender right at the front edge here. So what I did was I drilled them out with a small drill, and what I'll do now is I'll use this brass block like this. I'll stick it on the outside and I'll plug weld it from the inside, and what that'll do with this brass block, the weld will stop right at where the brass is, because obviously it won't weld to brass. So these should come off reasonably flat, won't be as much work to grind them down in this part of the fender. So by plug welding this from the inside of the fender and having that brass block out here, it was very little work to get that flattened off with a flat disc. Of course I'll have to finish that off by hand, but it's just made it easier than having a big blob of weld that you've got to knock down. So here I go, we're trying to get rid of this seam line here, where there's two halves of fender welded together. So I'm going to apply some body filler on it now. Now, when I discovered all this, it had body filler pretty much from here all the way back to here, and it was really caked on. And the reason for that is because this front piece of the added fender here is sitting just slightly higher than the rest of the fender. So they tried to flush it in and brought the body filler all the way back. So I'm going to work in this area here where I've basically taken my etch primer off, so it's back to bare metal here, so I'm putting body filler on bare metal. I'm going to clean all that up with some wax and grease remover, then I'll start applying the body filler, see if I can get it into a nice shape. So there's the body filler on. Now I haven't put it on too thick a layer. I can do extra layers later on, but it's better to do thin layers at a time. But my main thing was just to fill in that big dip, if you like, after the seam, which you can just see here. So the real main part I'm concentrating on filling up here is really just this small 1-inch ridge here, and I've just feathered it out on the ends, done a little bit at the front there and in the corner, and of course the bit hard to see there, but the bottom piece that I filled in some pinholes. And now it's just time to let that set, work that in, and just keep applying more body filler on top if required. So that's gone nice and hard now, so I'll start block sanding this with start off with 60 grit, then I'll move to 80 grit and so on from there. But this will most likely need another layer of body filler once I've done this. There'll be some little pinholes in there that I've got to fill in there also, but for now I'm just trying to get the basic shape, and I'm hoping to actually get this nice and even without having to come all the way out here with body filler as was previously done. So less is better, so I'll see how this turns out. So now I'm going to add another layer across here just behind this ridge, and let that set. Then I'll start block sanding from this direction, from here coming forward, so that it evens out the step over here and hopefully gets it nice and flush all the way through. Okay, that's now one consistent colour, so now I can apply that. First I'll clean off that area with some wax and grease remover. come in from behind that ridge and just smoothen that through. I'm just letting it sit a little bit higher behind that ridge that was there. I'll let that set now, and then I'll work that through again, and if it needs another layer, I'll put another layer on top. But hopefully that is getting closer to having this thing looking nice and even all the way through. Again, avoiding having body filler all the way up to here and all the way towards the front of this thing like it was. So that's what the car looked like before I got it from the US. This is a car that I bought off eBay, and it's come from Massachusetts, US. The original owner sent me a lot of pictures of the car, but I requested to get all the bad bits basically, which he was good enough to do. So I knew exactly what I was up against with this car. So it's a fair contrast from this to what it is at the moment. But the good news is all those rusty areas are all slowly coming off. I did earlier in the piece, I removed this quarter panel, basically because I knew that that wheel well, and it was all rusty like that, so I've got to make a new outer lip there for that wheel well. This is all part of the boot floor panelling. That's all got to be replaced. Now normally you wouldn't cut the quarter panels out until you've got replacement quarter panels for it, but I know the height of the quarter panels actually come up to about here when you get replacement ones, so I'd cut it well below that to give myself plenty of room. I actually cut it below the slots where the chrome strips come across here and go into these slots. So I've still got that in place, so I can easily put that back on. When it came time to finding the Impala to buy, what I was originally after was a two-door 60 Impala. I thought they looked really cool. What I came across was this one here though. This was in my price range. This is the reason why I bought it. And as soon as it got here, I just thought this looks way cooler than a two-door, being in the flat top. Not so much the bubble top, but the flat top, pillarless, four-door sports. I just think it's a really cool looking car. You see a lot of two-doors all the time, but not too many of these. Well, that's all the body filler work done on this left-hand fender. I've block sanded this body filler here all the way down to 320 grit. I probably didn't need to go quite that far. That has come out super smooth. I can run my hand across there and I can't feel any ridges or bumps or anything like that. That feels like one fender. So when that's all painted up, that should look really nice. A fender or a panel like this that's got curves which run in different directions is obviously an idea to use a flexible board file, which is what I've got here. That does a really good job. And you can get longer board files than that as well when you're doing larger panels like the roof and that sort of thing. So makes the job a lot easier. That's come out pretty good.